Take a trip with me beyond the veil, where true crime and the supernatural intertwine. This is Bloodlines and Secrets. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Bloodlines and Secrets. And after taking a tiny sabbatical, we are back. And this episode is a little bit different because we have a guest, my friend Lita. And I had wanted to interview her a little while ago. I wasn't sure how she was going to feel about it. But this episode will talk about UFOs. And so I love real life stories and I love Lita. And so I thought,
girl, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got it.
So today we will talk about her experience. But first, I want to let you guys know how we know each other. And so in my mental bank, I was like backtracking. I was like, that's been a while ago.
I was doing the math this morning. I was like, let me reel it back. I think it was 2013.
That sounds about right. Oh my God.
I know it's been 12 years, which I thought, oh, 12. That's a great number. It's got a lot of significance. So yeah, 12 years ago.
Yes. And so our friends, like, how do I even say? Because our friend, who is a mutual friend of Lita's wife,
yeah,
you guys have been dating, and I think you had just at that time just moved, like
from California.
Yes,
Yes,
from California to the Midwest,
right.
and
Was it Faith's birthday party?
it was Faith's, or I can't remember if it was her birthday party, if it was just like a random get together.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
she would do that, and I'd come over and eat and drink and just have a good old time.
Yeah.
But it was there at Faith's house, and we hit it off.
Yeah.
We hit it off. I was like, oh my God, I think I have a new friend, because sometimes I would feel like I have to like ration myself off to people so they wouldn't think I was too weird too soon. And so I was like, I don't have to ration myself out. I can like be me from jump.
Yes. I
So
felt the same way with you. It's like I had this memory of you just sitting in the kitchen and us wrapping it out.
yes,
And I'm like, I think I even got teary because
yes,
it's like, I've been here, I think I'd probably been there at least 6 months before I met you. And I knew no one. And I found like a kindred spirit in you. And I got all choked up because it was like, will you be my friend?
I was like,
Will you be my friend?
she's real. Yeah, yes,
Because I was like, I finally have found somebody that I could connect with and felt, that I could be myself with too.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Those are fun times. And then the fire pit in the backyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Yeah.
You and your son must move, back up that massive semi truck. And then we did some things too when we were in Springfield. We what was it? That class we had to drive to it. Peoria. We went to like somebody who was a medium.
Yes. Yes.
And she picked up on some stuff. Remember, I had a massive headache. She didn't even know. And I was like trying to hide it because I just wanted to be in the moment. And she was like, somebody's in pain in this. She like zeroed right in on.
That was
I was,
Buddha.
yeah, it was Buddha. Okay. I
That
don't
was
remember her name. Okay. Well,
Yes.
she knew something was up.
Yeah. She's eerily accurate.
Yeah. She was like zoning in. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. That brought a memory back.
Mm-hmm. That's a whole nother story.
So
Yes.
I would like for you, if you could tell the audience just a little bit about yourself, however much you want them to know about you.
Sure. Absolutely. I would first describe myself as an artist, somebody who's a truth seeker. I am wildly passionate about theology, philosophy, history. I love to read. I love to write. And my new passion is now Sound healing. So I'm currently in my case studies for finishing up, getting my certification for being a certified integral sound healing practitioner. Yes, ma'am. So that is on the horizon. But before that, I was a Waldorf educator, certified Waldorf teacher, and was doing that for I think I got 12 years of teaching and educating in largely in two different Waldorf schools, one on the West Coast and one on the East Coast. And now I'm a professional nanny while I'm getting my certification to be a sound healer. So I feel like I've worn many hats. You know, I was also a travel agent for 5 years. I worked at a library for 5 years. I feel like everything I've done along the way has kind of led me to this moment in time and what I'm doing. But passionate about travel, very kind of aligned with going to places that I vibe with historically, but also feel called to visit. Having recently learned that we often visit places, and if you're a person who believes in reincarnation, you go back and you visit the places that you've been before.
Mhm.
So, kind of looking at it through that lens and understanding where I've been and where I've traveled and information that I've gathered and gained through working with a medium to understand my past lives.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of threads, a lot to unravel, but I would say that above all, I'm just a truth seeker, somebody who really wants to understand why we're here, what's our purpose, what's my individual life purpose, the big questions. I have the big questions. So I'm on the journey.
All right. I
Yeah,
love that.
yeah.
That's a lot.
There's a lot. It keeps me busy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we met, we were in Faith's kitchen, and you were telling me about an incident when you
That
were
happened.
in California. Yes.
Yeah.
And when Lita told me this story, I could feel it in my body when she was telling me. And like you mentioned earlier, that you were like getting teary eyed, and I was like, oh my
Mhm.
God. And so
Mhm.
that stuck with me.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important story because I'm sure others have had similar instances. And so, if you would be so kind.
Yeah. And when I was thinking about the fact that I had told you that the first time I met you, I think that was probably the first time I told anybody what had happened.
So, you carry
I,
that.
yeah, no, because here's the thing is like what I'm about to describe, the story that I'm about to describe for me when it happened was so terrifying and so easily you could say that didn't happen, and it'll make more sense when I tell the story. That would if I were to express it out loud, I didn't think that anybody would believe me, and so it was like something that I had kept inside, like this experience, this room inside that I didn't explore for a number of reasons, but for whatever reason, I felt comfortable sharing it with you in the kitchen. So I thought, wow, that's significant. Here I am sharing my story with you in this capacity, but it was you who I shared the story with in the beginning in the first place.
I feel honored.
Yeah, well, well, thank you for being witness and for believing me,
Absolutely.
because it was most likely your belief in it that made me feel not crazy and made me feel heard, made me feel seen. So thank you.
Absolutely. And I'm sure if I'd had like a different life, if I hadn't had all these strange paranormal experiences from a child on up, I might have looked at it differently. So I think that that's how we find our people, our tribe sometimes are connect over things like that.
Right. That's how we find our village.
Yes. Yes.
And it's true, like, oh, I lost my train of thought, but just the idea of like, I lost it. That's called perimenopause. Things come and go. Girls out there, honey, let's start talking about it because she was right there and now she's there. I'll come back to her, but I can get into the story.
Okay.
That's so funny. That is definitely happening a lot more. So yeah, I was trying to think about what year it was, but I was living out in Southern California and my apartment was in Hollywood. And I would commute on Saturdays to Northridge, where I was going to get my certification in wildlife education at a school that was located in Northridge. And so you had to take the 405 from Hollywood to Northridge and back. And our school day was all day Saturdays and would end wrap up around 5:30. And so I was on my way home after school and it was dusk. I mean, it was the sun, you could tell was going down, but it was still daylight. And I was driving my car and I was about to get onto the on ramp onto the 405. And I just happened to look up into the left side of the sky. Something drew my attention up there as I'm driving. And I see, I want to say 8 to 10 lights in the sky, little like pinpricks of light that were moving like this, like dancing, moving in ways I knew no helicopter or plane or flying object I had ever seen or had an experience with moved that way, fast, all around. And I think I was completely gobsmacked. My jaw was probably wide open and I'm looking up and I remember having to drive at the same time. So I had to focus on the road and I got onto the on ramp and got on the 405 and I'm looking at my rearview mirror and I'm trying to look behind me because that's where the lights were and there was nothing there.
Mm.
By the time I got onto the 405, the lights were gone. And I was like, what did I just see? Did I just see UFOs? That to me would have been classified as a UFO. This was before they were called UAPs. I still call them UFOs. And I feel like in my past, I've been interested in extraterrestrial life and in UFOs. I have another really good friend of mine who was interested in the same, and her father's interested in the same. And I can remember having an experience with them where at my house, um, we saw some lights in the sky that were kind of moving around. And so I'd seen that before. And I have other family members who have had experiences seeing lights in the sky, one actually following one home all the way home, a family member.
Mm.
Recently found out that another family member of mine I had no idea had a UFO or an extraterrestrial experience, which I've yet to interview this person about. And and yet another family member. I'm not mentioning their names because I don't want to drag them, into this because I want that to be. I always want it to be someone's own personal consent.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't mention who, but after having had this UFO experience, and from what I've learned since then, that there tends to be it runs in the family.
Mm. I was gonna ask.
So yeah, so that's a piece we can return to later. So I had that experience driving home on the 405, and I didn't tell anybody about it. And that night, I was living in Hollywood with my partner in a studio apartment, and we were settling down to go to sleep. And I was in that in between place. You're not asleep. You're not quite awake. There's this, I don't know what that brain wave would be considered. There's different brain wavelengths like theta, delta.
Mm-hmm.
I was dropping into deeper, relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
When suddenly my awareness snapped awake and I opened my eyes and there were about 4 to 5 small gray aliens in my studio apartment, moving in a very strange way. And I'll come back to that later too, but I felt as if my body was already levitated. I had no control over my body movements. I was frozen. All I had was what was happening in my mind and what I could see. And I was terrified. Danielle, I don't know if I can even describe the level of fear that I was feeling. And after spending years of trying to understand why I was so afraid, I mean, it would seem obvious. Yes, there's extraterrestrials in your bedroom, levitating you, about to take you.
Mhm.
That would be terrifying enough. But the added layer of terror for me was the way that they moved and their lack of emotion.
Mhm.
It was almost like automaton. Um, like they had no empathy, no compassion for what they were doing to you. It was like they had a job to do and they were there to do it. And so I'm trying to relate to them on a human level, and there's nothing there. And
Was it
so, sorry, go ahead. Do you have a question? Yeah.
through telepathy? We're communicating with thoughts.
Everything was, and it was automatic. It was like I already knew that was the only way to communicate. So in my mind, I am literally screaming in my mind and dropping F bomb after F bomb to get the F out of my apartment, let me go, screaming, terrified, shaking. And the next thing I know is that they're gone. I'm in the bed. It seems as if no time has elapsed at all. And I kind of turn towards my partner. She's completely still and asleep. And I just shook like a leaf, shook
Mm.
like a leaf. Like, what just happened to me? I have no idea what just happened to me. Did it happen to me? And I think this is one of the reasons why I never shared it with anyone, because I felt like that would be dismissed. You were asleep. You had a dream. It didn't happen. And so for the longest time, I know what it felt like for me, the truth of the experience, the truth of the terror. And I have had other unexplainable experiences, not related to UFOs or ETs, but entities,
Mhm.
other like you through my life have had experiences that if if those hadn't happened to me, I probably would hear the story. And if I had had an experience like this, I would be um, uh, doubtful, or I would probably, you know, I would, you know, I would take it with a grain of salt. Of course, always take it with a grain of salt. But how do you make believe you that something happened unless they've had direct experiences themselves? And I think once you've had your own personal experience, you go from a place of doubt to belief right away. There's a huge leap in your belief system and a huge shift
Mhm.
in your consciousness, because you're suddenly, without a doubt, we are not alone.
Right. Yeah.
We are not alone. Um, we are being visited. And so part of it, of not addressing this story and only really starting to dig in within the last couple of years, I would say 2 to 3 years, was just out of true abject fear and terror that it would happen again. Being alone at night, like you can't get any more terrifying than that. Them coming through your through your wall, or they can just come right through the walls. Who can understand how they move? People have their theories, right? Dimensional shifts, portals, all that sort of thing. But how do you control something like that? So it's, I guess, a feeling of like not being in control
Yes.
that was truly terrifying, and left me in a place of keep it to yourself, because other people aren't going to know what to do with it. And I have kind of tried to, as I've opened up and have started to tell other people about this experience, I will get reactions where they are not really wanting to hear it.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. It's like you have to see who your village is in that sense too. Like who maybe has had an experience. And if they have, of course, they're going to be more open to understanding and believing you. So yeah, I can tell you then how I've kind of processed and learned more about my experiences. But maybe you want to jump in here.
I do. So one thing I want to go back to is when you
Yeah.
said that one of the things that terrified you was how they moved.
Yeah.
Can you describe that a little more so we
Mm. Hmm.
visualize that?
It's not fluid. It's not fluid. It's almost like puppet like.
Ah,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Mm.
A little puppetish. Um, and again, it was so the puppet like movements, the lack of emotions and empathy and compassion was what was truly terrifying. And I didn't put that together until I went to a medium because I'd never been to a medium before in my life until 2 years ago. And it was because I was starting to face this. So I think it started with Bashar. I started getting reels on Bashar. And what Bashar was saying was hitting home, was hitting home, hitting home. And you know when you hear truth, because it has a certain frequency, has a resonance. So you can, and I think this is the way of the future because who can tell fact from fiction these days, right? Your truth meter is inside you. And so when you feel the truth, you know how it resonates. And so what I was hearing from Bashar and his story, Daryl Anka's story, he describes it. Get into that if you aren't familiar and you want to know more about UFOs and one race of extraterrestrials or hybrids. Look into Daryl Anka and who Bashar is. And so, having heard a lot from Bashar and also reading Dolores Cannon, who is a hypnotherapist who has worked on thousands of people, and her books are all about regressing and tapping into what she called, what was it called? The subconscious. You could also say the higher mind, and what was coming through those regressions, and the fact that so many of them have had visitations.
Yeah.
And it was through Dolores Cannon and reading those accounts that helped me further understand why they're here, their possible mission, our soul contracts, um, and that when she was able to regress those individuals past the point of their fear, that the reason why they were being taken was ultimately for their highest and best. It was almost like a retuning, recalibration of the frequencies that we hold. So that was an education for me, and it helped me transform some I would say most of the fear that I have about that. And then also through my work with a local medium here, where she gave me my very first validation that it happened. Because should I get into that? Should I share about the reading that I received on that visitation?
Yes. But
Okay.
before you go into that, I just want to note that when you were talking about Daryl Anka,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, if I'm not mistaken, he was living in the same area. It was still Southern California. So I'm thinking there may be a connection to
I
location. Maybe.
Everything's connected, right? I think there's a lot of activity in those areas. There's a lot of sightings of craft coming up out of the water in that area. I know of another individual who I was affiliated through the school, who I saw she had a visitation that rocked her. I reached out to her, but she did not reach back because I think she was still in a place of fear. And I was like, wow, yeah, okay, she was visited too.
Yeah.
And I think I've pinpointed it to either 2007 or 2008. And if it was 2007, that's when all that stuff was happening in Texas. There was a lot of stuff going down in Texas. I can't quite remember. There's a documentary on it. I don't know if it's Netflix. I can get back to you on that. But it was, I think, could have been possibly the same year.
Mhm.
There was a lot of activity in 2007.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I think Southern California and Utah
In Nevada.
and Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So yes,
There's probably a lot of portals out there. Yeah, Mount Shasta,
yes, yes.
Arizona. I mean, the list goes on. They're all over the world, right? So
You can
yeah,
feel those shifts in energy
Yeah.
Uh,
There's got to be hot spots.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just driving through New Mexico and Arizona. You can kind of feel the energy vortexes just driving. I don't know. That's the only way I can explain it is you can feel the shifts in vibration,
Yeah.
especially driving through those states for me.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah. But
No
please,
doubt. No doubt.
we want to hear the rest. We want to hear about.
So through my work with the medium, I really went to her because I wanted to have a past life regressions. I'm interested in reincarnation and what my possible past lives were because I really am on the search of what am I here for? You know,
Mhm.
like what am I here to do? And this was before I found sound healing. This is when I had left my job as a Waldorf teacher because I had gotten to such a level of stress and mental load that it was manifesting in my physical body
Mm,
in ways where I had to have 3 surgeries in a matter of 2 years, multiple sinus infections. Like your body tells you when you need to shift if you aren't doing it already. So I was in a place where like, what do I do next? You know, I've left education. What's the next step for me? I was in that place and I thought, why not go see her and see if I can get some answers to what I did in the past?
mhm,
Because if you follow Rudolf Steiner, through our various incarnations, we hone and develop specialties. Like
mhm.
people who are born savants, or like Mozart, people who can do concertos at the age of 4 or whatever. That isn't because they were born that way in just this lifetime. It's because they've honed it through lifetimes and came with these gifts into this lifetime. A little bit of Steiner there, but so Christina, I said, before we get into these past lives, I have a question about this life. She's like, go for it. She said, I said, something happened to me and I want to know if it really happened to me. I want to know if it was real or not. And all she asked was where it happened and what year. And she right away started to describe to a T my studio apartment. And she started to describe the beings. And she was the one, she was like, they move funny. And I hadn't told a soul about that. And
Wow.
it's when it was like, woo, chills, goosebumps all over. I was like, she's seeing them.
Mhm.
She knows, yes, that's what I saw. And she was like, oh yeah. She was like, yeah. She was like, that happened. That happened. And so that was like the first validation for me. I was like, okay, so I was visited. She said, yes. And I said, well, why? You know, why did they want to take me? And then they tried to come and speak directly through her in that moment.
Do you
And she said, nope. She was like very clear with her boundaries. She's like, you may tell me what you want her to know. She would not let them speak, be a channel through her.
wow.
And another episode could be like I've also had an experience having channeled a being, but this was me experiencing it, like her setting a boundary there, which I thought was valuable for me. I was like, you can set those boundaries. That's good to know.
Yeah,
You know?
they don't have total control.
Yes, you can have total control. So she said that they said they're interested in me because I'm going to be here for a while. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you're going to live a really long life. I was like, what? She said, yeah, like into your 90s. Or I was like, I don't want to.
It's
I don't,
overrated.
if I'm not with it, if I can't move or I'm not mentally there, like, I don't want to be here, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I better start really taking care of myself physically, mentally, emotionally, because like, okay, like I guess I'm gonna have a long life. All right. And they're interested in the human experience. So they're monitoring me and learning about the human experience through me.
So all of your evolution from the teaching to the sound healing to the learning, the reading and past lives, like that's what they're holding on to. That's what they're wanting to learn through you.
They want to learn about the human experience on earth through me. And now I'll tell you what I've learned over the last 2 sessions so we can make it succinct. So I said, well, are they tracking me? Do I have a tracker? Because I heard sometimes I've heard people have. She said, yes, you do. You have one in your left wrist. And she said that they're saying if you don't want it there, they'll remove it. It's up to you. Like it's you have a choice, is what she's saying. Like it's individual free will. If you don't want this, you don't have to do this. You make that decision. Again, going back to your own personal autonomy, it was like, oh yeah, I have a choice, right? I can choose to be a part of this or not. And I've heard conflicting reports on that as well.
Okay.
Does that bring up a question for you?
Yes. So
Yeah.
with the whole past lives or like Akashic records and agreement that we make before we enter
Mm-hmm.
into this lifetime, does that mean that you would have made that agreement during that point that yes, I will allow this?
Yes.
Okay.
That's another thing that Dolores's canon's work revealed to me is that before we incarnate, we create a soul contract for this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
We choose who our parents are going to be. We choose what lessons we want to work on. This is all Dolores canon, what we want to work on. And also, we know we're not alone in
Yeah.
this universe upon universe upon universes in multiple dimensions. And we make contracts with other beings to do work. And so I agreed on some level to let these visitations happen. So I said, okay, Chris, oh, I don't know if I should say her name. The medium said, I said to the medium, how many times have I been visited? How many times have I been taken? She gave me a number that blew me away. First, she said 111. I was like, whoa, because of the 111, like I'm an 11 master number if you do numerology. I'm like, she said, that's an angelic number. She's like, wait, 111. She said, no, hold on. She's getting that number mixed up between hers visitation number and mine. She
Okay.
was giving the total number of visitations between the two of us. She said, no, just Lita's. Still, it was 60 times that I had been visited. And I said, were each of those times like, was I physically taken? Because I also know that you can astral travel. So did I astral travel? Or did I physically travel? She said in the beginning, they would take you physically to the ships. And she's saying that the ships are above us. They're cloaked. Can't see them. You also can't see the beams of light that they beam you up on because we would be seeing beams everywhere. And she said that there's like this, there are layers, and she takes you up, they take you up, and they work on you energetically, whatever needs to be. There's a lot. I think the earth, the way they understand it, this is like a master school. And we're going through a lot of energetic shifts. And so that we don't even understand on a conscious level how many energetic shifts we experience in a second or in a nanosecond. So like imagine like going day to day, shifting, shifting, shifting. You are going to get things in your biofield, your aura that need to be recalibrated. And this is what I've learned through sound healing is that everything is frequency. And sometimes you may have imbalances. You might have an excess of energy. You may have a depletion of energy in a chakra. How do you become homeostasis? How do you get back to balance within your biofield and also in your autonomic nervous system? So I think that's the work that I'm trying, that I think, this is my theory, that they take you up to work on you, on your frequencies and balance your calibrate you so that you can come down here and be a light worker.
Okay.
And so through my understanding and through finding my life purpose and sound healing, when I found sound healing, it was like a light bulb went off inside me.
Hmm.
And I have done so many different things in my lifetime that I've been interested, that have excited me, that I've gone to with all my passion, but never did I find something that it was like an aha moment. Like this, Lita, this is it. This is what you're here to do. It was like they were tapping me on my crown chakra saying, girl,
Like
this is
finally,
finally, yes. You've listened. All of the signs have led you here.
this is,
So
this is giving
now, yeah,
Lumeria
yeah,
or vibes.
big time. Oh, the Lemurians, yes. I definitely had, I'm sure I had a past life during that time, for sure. Very connected. And they're connected to the Pleiadians, from what I understand. Like if you are somebody who are interested in the different races of
Mhm.
extraterrestrials out there, I think they're related to the Pleiadians. Don't quote me on that.
I just had a random thought,
Yeah.
another episode,
Yeah.
but biblically
Yes.
speaking,
Mm-hmm.
when you reread the Bible through this lens,
Mm.
when you talk about Pleiadians and other races,
Yes.
you can clearly see some of that
Oh, yes.
in the Bible.
Yes. This is why I love theology. And I love the mystic occult
Yeah,
because in that is the true teachings and the wisdoms that have been passed down through the ages, not the cover up, not the patriarchy,
yes, 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 yes.
not the smearing of women through time, but also the understanding of the divine feminine in balance with the divine masculine. This is what I think is emerging in our time right now.
And
And that's why the patriarchy is fighting so hard.
and I'm like, first I was like, did I really choose this time to incarnate with all this bahoon shit?
Yeah.
But on the other side, I'm like, I'm glad to be alive right now because of this shift and being a part of this shift and
You
looking at
chose it, girl.
spiritual lens and not physical lens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Any last pieces from that experience that I gained through the medium? Um, oh, I asked because I had heard that this was the case with some visitations, is that some people have had negative experiences, right? They've felt like they've been poked, prodded, mined, their organs have been mined for uh, genetic purposes,
Hmm.
right? Even Bashar would say he's a hybrid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Esasani, he's part gray, part human. Well, where did that human DNA come from? And I think that's part of the soul contract. We say, okay, yes, you can take my DNA and use it to further this work that's happening. So I was curious to know if any of my DNA had been taken. And she said, let me check into that. And she said, interesting. She said she's seeing fingernails. You know how like when you do crime scene, you take
Yeah.
the physical matter from under the nail and you study it to understand where that person was or what could possibly, what the chemistry is.
Yeah.
They would take that from me to understand what it was I was touching on the earth.
Wow.
I was like, okay, did not expect that answer. I expected, did they take an egg? Do I have hybrid children out there that I'm going to meet someday? She said, no, you don't. So, according to her, I do not. Um, but who knows? Who knows? I guess not. But that they did take physical DNA in the form of what was under my nails to study it.
Okay.
Yeah. And that I no longer have to go physically, that I've reached a place in my own evolution that I can astrally go now
If you want to.
if I want to.
You want to.
Yes. So that's the area that I feel like I'm trying to hone and work and tap into is learning more about the sleep state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is where I would want your feedback, your wisdom, your experience, because I feel like you're somebody who can go there so easily,
Mm-hmm.
astrally travel. For me, I feel, and maybe it's my own mind blocking me, but I feel like it's like I haven't learned how to do it yet consciously. I've had some conscious dreams where you're controlling it, but very few. And so I want to learn how to self hypnosis. I want to learn how to astral travel. I want to learn how to tap into the Akashic record. These are all the
Yeah.
things that I feel like I'm interested in learning how to do. Because from what I understand, we all have the capacity to
Yeah.
do it.
I believe that. I believe that. Do
Yeah.
you know who your spirit guides or angels are?
Well, it's interesting you asked that because I asked that same question to the medium, and she said, I can tell you how many you have
Mhm.
and whether they're male or female energy and their essence. So she gave me seven.
Okay. Because let me tell you, when I wanted to astral travel, when I didn't feel like for years and years, I felt like I didn't have any control. I had done an angel workshop with this lady named Danielle Reed. I don't know if she still does this or not, but
Okay.
it was a weekend class and she told me who my angel was. And like we talked about earlier on, I took it with a grain of salt. I was like, I don't know, she don't know me, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
And she gave me my angel name. And when I went home, I was like, listen, said Angel, I want to know why this happens and yada 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 yada. As I am saying this in my mind, I'm praying in my mind. So I would center myself. Bam, I'm up and out of my body, astral traveling. And I was aware of a presence next to me. Didn't see it, didn't see the angel, but felt it. So now, if I want answers and things like that, I will specifically ask. And even if you don't have a name,
I do have a name.
you, I would say, show me this or show me that. I was surprised at how quickly it happened. And I was
Okay.
like, damn, this lady's the real deal.
It could be any of those seven, you think?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
So they have access to these
Right.
upper realms, all of that. Yes, any of the seven.
So
It's
just ask.
just that.
That's what they always, they're there. You just need to ask.
It is that easy. I asked to see, I also asked, and this was just me myself, and this was after I had a reading with the guy from Illinois. I don't think he reads anymore, but he was scary too. Because he was asking about my spiritual practices and yada yada yada, and I was like, how does he know a little bit about this? But he saw the same guides that I asked to see. So one night I asked, who are my protectors? Who's
Hmm.
protecting me?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, all of these faces came forward, like these old Black people that I'd never seen before, no one that I recognized, but they showed themselves like one by one. And I was like, so he picked up on that. He picked up on that. And at another time, I had asked my spirit guides to show me, and it was almost immediate from me asking. They showed themselves. And the thing about it, I'm glad that I asked at that point in my life. This was 2020 or 2021. I think it was 2020. I would have been scared at the spirit guides because they're not human looking. They're not. They're just
That's
beings.
what she said. They're like the two she told me about, they'd never had a human incarnation. They are not.
Yeah. So like that would have thrown me.
Yeah, before, if you had heard it before.
But I was like, huh,
Yeah.
okay. I was like, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, seriously, all you have to do is ask.
Okay.
And I have a mantra I'll give you later
Okay.
off camera that someone had given me that works too.
Okay. I feel like you have that gift of like where you can more do you see it in your mind's eye or is it in your with your physical five senses? Because I think that's what I've learned, like there are more senses beyond the five
Mhm.
that I think most people they don't want to go beyond the five senses because that's not real or tangible. But the fact is that we have many more senses. So for you, is it your physical eyes seeing it, or is it in an inner plane of seeing?
In these cases, my third eye, because it's like it's
You see
almost
it in here,
I see it
your
either
eyes closed.
yes, either as a snapshot or like film, like watching a movie. That's how I perceive it. Now I have seen things with my physical eye as well,
Okay.
but the instances I just described with my
Wrong.
the protectors and guides, it was here. Yes. but I have seen with the physical eye. I will say that's another story.
That's
That's
another
another episode. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm learning to trust. Because at first I would see things and I would like your imagination. And as I'm doing the sound healing work and I am, preparing the space and calling on my spirit team, I call them, and calling on whoever, whatever client I'm working on, calling on their spirit team, working on raising the vibrational level so that they can experience the most healing outcomes for them, that I'm finding, just like you said, you were getting messages before that person even showed up. Now I'm getting messages, like if I know I'm seeing someone before the session, I'm getting downloads of what instrument to use, how to use it, what protocol. And that's never happened before. So I feel like the more you practice, the more you meditate, the more you open, surrender, and allow, that this, it's almost like a muscle, it grows.
Yes. Yeah. It makes me think of like going to get your teeth cleaned, like
Yeah.
with the vibration and they're getting all the plaque off.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I feel like in my mind. Like before, when people would say, talk about high vibrations and low vibrations, I'd be like, what the hell are they talking about? Until I physically felt my body being tuned like a tuning fork or like a radio station caught in between channels. And I realized that the things that I was hearing, like I was being tuned to that frequency. And then everything just made sense. Everything just made sense.
Yeah.
This is good.
There's so much here.
There is.
There's a lot. There's a lot of different threads we could pull on.
Yeah. Yep.
Do you have any other questions about my UFO experience or?
I do not.
Okay, good. All right. I've answered your questions regarding
Okay.
that. Yeah. I am, like after I'd gotten some answers through the medium and through Dolores Cannon, even Elizabeth April, somebody who's people who are familiar with her, or Daryl, like, and getting validation that I'm not alone. Other people are having similar experiences. I've tried to like allow myself to say to them, like, okay, show up.
Hmm.
Show up, but show up in the daylight when I'm not in the dark and alone in my bed.
Yeah.
So I'm getting to the part to be brave enough to face them in my waking state
Okay.
because I have the choice.
Yeah.
So I'm only just starting to feel okay with that.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know, it's still something that I think deep down scares me because of that lack of control.
Mhm. But you're moving past that fear.
Yeah, I think once you understand the greater purpose, and you hope that that's the greater purpose,
Mhm.
then you can let go of the fear because there is no separation. That's another big lesson that I've been learning, that, if everything all is one and we are just tiny drops in the big ocean, that the separation is the illusion.
Yep.
That's
Oh,
a whole nother podcast.
yeah. Yep. This
Yeah.
has been really good.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Yay. Good. Okay. Me too. Thank you for letting me share my story on this forum. And I hope that if you're somebody out there who's listening to this and it resonates for you as truth, and or you've had an experience similar to mine, that you are not alone, and to trust yourself
Yep.
and to know thyself.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy.
Well, thank you, Lita, for your time today. And for the listeners, thank you for listening. And if you have a story, please drop it in the comments. Or if you have a story you'd like me to tell on the show, drop that in the comments. Or I think I have my email address on the channel page. Shoot me an
Put it
email.
up here. No.
Yes, yes. I'm going to put my email. It's going to scroll somewhere on the screen. So, yes, let us know. Thank you for joining us. And we are signing off.
Thanks, Daniel.